Okay, Mr. Elio.
How are you?
Ahlan, ahlan. Welcome. If you don't mind, I'm going to take off my shoes just to be a bit more comfortable.
Yeah, you know what? I'll do the same. Yeah.
So, the conversation could go as long as you want it to be.
Yeah.
Once we run out of conversation, like with Croc, we ran out of conversation.
We'll
and
speak
that's
about
it.
anything
and then
else.
we just kind of stop. We're like, okay, just stop. Same thing with Edward, just kind of stopped. So tell me about you. Elio, who are you?
Tell you about me. Well, I'm Elio, originally from Lebanon, if you want to know
Alright.
that. And I grew up around cars all my life. So
Amazing.
Started off focusing on classic cars, and when I moved to Dubai, started working with cars professionally, buying and selling cars.
Amazing.
And even trading with some showrooms as well.
Okay.
So that was my work as a salesperson here. Very much in touch with cars, and I've got my own passion as well of owning some very cool cars.
Yeah, I remember when I met you. It was like one of those. This dude is a petrol head. Like there's some guys you can just tell. Like these guys eat, breathe, drive, think permanently. Always, it's like always there. And you can tell the difference sometimes. And I was like, this dude.
I mean,
he's one of those dudes.
It's not only you. It's as well. Edwards, in your last episode, he said that I'm a nerd about cars. So,
yeah, man.
so
it's like
it's something in me. It's something.
absolutely,
in me, to be honest.
absolutely,
Yeah.
man. The passion's definitely there. And I remember we met when I had seen your car
Yeah.
parked in Motor City, and I was like,
The
Clio RS. I was like, this guy got to add to the club. But let's left a note.
Yeah, I remember.
Next thing you know,
I remember when I saw your note. I was walking to my car, and I saw it from far away. I thought it was a ticket, and I said,
Yeah.
I haven't parked in the wrong place."
I get that from everybody, man. Everybody tells you that.
And then I saw your note. Said, "Oh yeah, that's cool. Someone knows about these cars."
Yeah, man.
So it's a 2002 Clio 172. It's all stock, and it's
All stock, wasn't the pipes?
yeah, you've got the pipe. I've got a big exhaust in the
Yeah.
back, which doesn't look really at best, but it sounds very nice.
It sounds great.
Yeah,
it
it's
sounds
very
great.
loud. Got into some problems with the popos here.
Yeah,
because of that.
yeah. It's
yeah.
not that loud.
Well,
It's not like Abdullah's Megane, which is like
it's
thunder
not
wherever
that
he
much.
goes.
Yeah, because it's an old car, then you could hear it, and then you don't expect that much noise from that small car.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
yeah, it's a very nice
Fair
car.
enough.
I've named it, and
What have you named it?
Well, I've named it Rari. It's short for Ferrari. So
Rari.
it's nice. It's quick. It's noisy.
Is it like a wish to have a Ferrari, but you have a Clio RS instead?
Well, maybe, yeah. It's
But
inspiring.
your dad has a Ferrari. Your dad has has several Ferraris.
He has a few, yeah, and he's owned quite a lot before. So he was more into the trade before me, and at the moment he owns a 308 Quattro Valvole. He's got two 365 GTB 2+2, GTB 4 2+2.
Is that the one that I saw that had it was working on the engine? The top half of the engine was
exactly.
like removed.
Yeah. So I think he's doing a quick restoration around the engine, making it look nice and tidy. So
tell me a bit about that. Like, so how did your dad get into trading cars? You just said you just mentioned he was trading cars. So how did he get into that?
That was.
From what I understand, he had just to let the guys know, he has like an extensive collection. I think he used to have an even more extensive collection of like some crazy exotic shit. Just like he had a Miura at one point.
He had a Miura, one of those.
He
Daytona,
had like a bunch of
Daytona Spider, yeah.
Spider,
an original Spider, not a conversion.
All right.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about that. How he got into all of that, and how I'm sure that passion transformed into you, right?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
sorry, not transformed, like translated into you.
So my memories from Dad when I was really young was always about cars, and in his workshop he has all these images of his previous cars, and it's way before that when I was born. So he was trading from the Middle East, sending cars to Europe and Canada and selling them. So I think because of the situation in Lebanon, especially in the Middle East and Lebanon, so cars are very cheap. Buy it from there.
So was it like exotic cars they was finding in Lebanon and selling?
Mostly it was Ferraris, Lamborghinis that he would find in Lebanon and then send it to Canada and sell.
Wow.
There. Yeah, so
that's actually pretty interesting.
And that we're talking in the late 70s and 80s. Yeah.
And it makes sense because then it'd be cheaper obviously in Lebanon because Is it because they wouldn't be taken care of, or they'd be like kind of cars that needed to be worked on, or just
Well,
because it was a different market that they were cheaper?
in this time, there was this situation in Lebanon. There was the war, and there was all this. So cars were
People were just trying to get rid of them.
get rid of it. Yeah, and
Fair enough. Fair enough.
exactly. Yeah, there's some cool cars. I remember there's a couple of Daytonas, 365 Boxers as well. A couple of 400s, Miura. I'm just buying in Lebanon and selling.
Amazing,
in North America.
amazing,
Yeah,
amazing.
so that was. I think this is how it all started with him, and there was a focus on these specific cars. Mercedes as well is a big part of his collection, and my memories when I started knowing about these things, I remember there was an Alfa Giulietta Spider, there was an Allard, there was a Miura, there was a 308, couple of them. So those are the first cars that I remember.
Well, those are like
days,
proper cars to get an early exposure on cars.
Actually, my very first memory of working on a car was with him on that 1960 Alfa Giulietta Spider. And I remember he was working on something on the engine. I don't know. He was restoring the car, and he was doing something on the engine. I didn't understand. And all he wanted me to do is sit in the car, and when he asks me to start the car. So he taught me how to start the car. So that's the key. You turn, and when this light is on, then you crank a little bit more, and then when I tell you, you remove your hand. So that was the first memory that I have, and I remember I was like 4 or 5 even. I was very, very young.
That's really young.
Yeah, and the car is still with him, by the way. He still has it. It's for my
That's
sister.
impressive, man. That's really nice.
We've always known that this car is my sister's.
Amazing.
Now,
Amazing. So now it's obviously fully restored and it's all nice and clean.
Yeah, it's all nice and clean. It's covered. It's sitting in the house. And
does she drive it often?
No.
No?
Not yet.
Not yet.
She lives in Canada now.
Ah, okay,
so,
fair enough.
She lives in
Man, that's
Canada.
great knowing that. Like, hey, I have this Alpha sitting waiting for me. You know, I was slightly annoyed at my dad at how I think he smashed a 1300 Junior. Or he used to have one of those back in the day.
Yeah.
Him and my dad's cousin, he used to have a 2002, BMW 2002.
Wow, okay, yeah.
At the time, it was like, in Lebanon, it was like, holy cow, these guys are like boss, And my dad used to tell me I used to pick up all kinds of chicks with it. And like,
was it the turbo or just the...
Just a regular one.
TII?
I think it was like the same one like Ihab's.
Ihab
from the classic Alpha with the 2 round lights on the front. The red one.
Okay, yeah.
Classic
Alpha.
Yeah,
the one that's restored, yeah?
The one that's restored.
Yeah. Nice. The Alpha, yeah.
So it used to be, I think it used to be that, and he had it, and I think either he smashed it or something happened to it, or like, because I would have told him, man, if he still had it, it would have been amazing, honestly.
Yeah, it's a very nice car. Yeah.
Obviously, like his dad bought it for him and whatever kind of thing.
These Alphas, these years of Alphas, they are becoming crazy and very much
very
now.
sought after.
There's a Sprint, a Giulia Sprint, lightweight, fully restored with only 4,000 or 5,000 miles on it. It was sold for $280,000 a couple of days back in the US. Yeah.
What? And I was about to mention like 60,000 or 70,000 when I browsed for these old Giulias, the 1300s or whatever, 1600s. Because I was like, what, is it doable to get one for my dad for his birthday? I looked at the prices. I was like, nope, it's not doable.
The one I'm talking about is slightly older. I think it's late 50s.
And the Sprints are also, I think, a bit different. The Sprints are like a bit special versions, like the Super League.
And that one was a lightweight as well, fully restored. It was on Bring a Trailer, I think. Yeah, it was
Okay, fair enough.
It's really, really nice car. It was originally white, and then the first owner decided to paint it in blue because that was his company color, something like this. Yeah, some
pretty
weird stuff in the late 50s. And then the car lived, and then it was repainted in white, then brought back to the original color, restored, and sold. It's just crazy what you could do with classics.
Yeah,
it's a big world.
I find it so rare to find a classic car with original paint. I think when they say that original paint, you have to go like, oh wow, that really does mean something, because like it happens so often that these guys just change the paint and you never really know what's hiding under there until you peel or sometimes you never know. So actually I think it's included in the VIN, isn't it?
Yeah, for example, Mercedes, if you look at the late 60s, early 70s, the 111. So you have the data card where you have the chassis number, and then you have two codes on the far right.
Okay.
There's a 3-digit number for the exterior and the 3-digit number
Okay,
for
fair
the
enough.
interior.
So that's what
if you know these, you will know what is the equivalent of that. For example, 362.
You should be like a burgundy or something.
Something like this. Yeah, I don't know for older cars if they've done something like this, but I know for Mercedes they've done.
There are some, I think, more special cars, like I think high-end Lamborghinis and high-end Ferraris. I know Lamborghinis, they have a little plaque, same thing, and there's a color on there.
Sometimes they write the name of the color, like for Rosso Dino, or something like this.
It's not a code, absolutely. Okay, it's Italian. It has to be.
You have to have a
and
nice
then you have the
name.
Germans which do the numbers and shit like that. It has to be like this,
exactly. Imagine a car which is like from the 70s. Now it's going to be almost 50 years old. So if you really wanted to have original paint, imagine how much effort you have done to preserve that original paint in the past 50 years.
But I mean, when you say original paint, you think of like, for example, I think Gilbert's XK120, the red one. I think that's original paint, right?
I think so. I think.
But that's like chipped and faded and everything, and he loves it like that.
Exactly,
and it's patina, in that sense.
You kind of think that if you really want to restore and get rid of that paint and put new one, it's not gonna.
It's history, man.
It's gonna look amazing.
Yeah.
But it's not gonna be the same.
It's not the same character, definitely. Yeah. I think I agree with you as well, but you're right. If you want to keep it like mint, you really have to keep it.
Yeah.
Close the garage, etc., kind of thing. Like.
There was a video that I watched recently about a vault where they where some cars were there for like 30 years, all closed, covered, and it was a.
Was it those BMWs? A whole bunch of BMWs were in there, like a Russian collection.
I've seen this, yeah, but it was one that has older cars. I think the people who did the video were detailers, and they were sent to detail a car inside to prepare for something. And while they were filming, and you could see all these classic Mercedes and Alphas and Jaguars just laying around. Then they had to at the end, I think either a Maserati or an old Alpha. They were detailing, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, man. Sometimes, like, it surprises me the stuff that's hiding in some places, like, especially here. Here, I've come to realize sometimes when you get the door open in the villa, when you're driving around Jumeirah or whatever, you peek and you see the wildest things, man. Because these guys used to buy the craziest things back then. They still buy the craziest things now. And, like, if there's one thing I'm convinced of is that you can find anything here. Anything. Except probably a lot of pre-World War cars. I think those mainly stay in Europe or North America.
I think mostly in North America. And in Europe. You will find.
But I would imagine 50s onwards, like you can find any of that here, And
where did I see a photo of someone driving like a Ford Model A like last week or 2 weeks ago here?
Yeah, I think that's Zahir's, no?
He has one, I think.
Yeah, he has A or a T, I can't remember. I think he has an A, and it's the same color. And I remember seeing it at.
It was an Alawir.
An Alawir.
That was one. There is definitely
like
one.
It's a beige color. Zahir's is beige.
Yeah, I think the one that I saw in Alawir was like a dark brown.
Okay.
A light brown. But it was a Model A, 1928, 1927. That's crazy, man. Something like this. Yeah, I don't know if it's
Alawir was Japanese imports. Some Japanese guys decided, hey, I want to buy a classic American, like a pre-war American.
Yeah, I mean it's mostly in North America that you can see, and usually in North America, it's a car that's been passed through generations in one family.
Absolutely. These things are 100 years old.
Yeah.
I really went into a phase where I was watching Jay Leno's Garage a lot, and I was specifically looking at these pre-war cars with the plane engines in them. Those things are out of this world. Those things are out of this world, man. Like the Merlin engines, all those Rolls-Royce engines and things like that. And just the concept of it, hey, let's take a big ass airplane, 29-liter airplane engine, and put it into a car. It's basically you're driving an engine. You're not driving a car. You built stuff around it.
Imagine the vibration that you're gonna feel. And
apparently, these things are incredible amount of torque and they're super smooth to drive and low RPM. They're up to like 3,000 or something. It's
you don't need more than that.
You don't need more than that.
It's usually like 16
pistons, like this big.
16, 18 cylinders, even more sometimes.
And there was a lot of these guys at one point he went to a show, and there was a lot of these guys that had these cars that were unrestored from like 100 years ago. Even the wood and everything is still sitting there like that. Like, but that's also a dedication. Like to keep it as is.
You know, those cars in the 20s, I think, and every car in that stage of in that period, they were built very, very much heavy duty. So there was a lot of metal everywhere. So my dad had a few of these cars. He's got a 1925 studs, 28 Ford convertible Model A, just like Zaher's.
Yeah.
And
I've seen that one. I remember that
you've
one.
seen it, yeah. And when you drive them, I drove them for a couple of times. And first of all, when you want to cold start it, it's the whole process. So you've got, for example, on the Model A Ford, you have the timing that you adjust on your steering.
Yeah.
So you've got the big steering that's very heavy, and then in the middle you have like two handles that you adjust the timing. So you put the
timing of what? Timing of the firing.
Timing of the firing.
Of the pistons. That's insane.
So you adjust this, and then when it heats up, you reduce the timing. And
so it's like a choke.
Exactly. It's not for the carburetor. It's for the electrical timing.
Right.
So it's for the spark plug. So
that's insane.
It's crazy. And I remember how you started. So you turn a key. You don't even know if the ignition on or off. You have nothing to tell you that. And then you start it. You press the accelerator until the end, so that you have the open valves on the carburetor, and then you have the ignition switch at the end of the accelerator. So it's just crazy how
it's so different back then. I guess back then it was really not experimenting, but
trying stuff,
trying to see the best way it would work. You know, eventually I'm sure that idea of the ignition all the way to the pedal migrated to the key, etc. and all that. They managed to like unify the whole timing and all that and get it together. It's definitely a process always, man. When again referring to Jay Leno's old cars, same thing, man. Like you get in and he's like, oh, you have to first pump the oil and do that, and then you have to do this, and you have to do that, and you have to do that, and then you press this, and it's like it's insane. It's another level. It's a different time.
But then when you drive them, they somehow feel solid. You know, you don't feel that it's wobbly and moving around. No, everything doesn't move. The steering, okay, you feel that there's a bit of play. But then the steering doesn't move anywhere. It's just there, you know. The doors, they open, they close, and they make that clink noise that you know that it's not going to play. Nothing's going to move.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, especially on the studs. The studs is even older than the Ford. It's 1925, and you see the luxury inside. I think the studs was something similar to Rolls Royce back then.
Okay.
So it was really.
It's American brand.
It's an American brand, yeah, and. You see inside the luxury, the nice wood, the seats, the way the seats they've been made, like curving, coming in and then coming out. And then you sit somehow comfortably in it, and it's those cars are just so nice. They're not performance cars, but just.
No, I don't think they were ever meant to be performance cars.
They just take you places and.
High class American kind of guy that would buy like these kind of things. Probably be chauffeured in it, you know, like most of the time. So continuing on to your dad trading with cars, so that obviously translated into you. So for a better part of your life, you were selling and buying cars as well professionally.
Yeah,
so
here in Dubai. Yeah.
So tell us a bit about that.
So in Dubai, I've worked in a showroom, and in that showroom I spent around 3 years. Yeah, 3 years, and it was buying cars for the showroom and selling it through the showroom. So
this is like an independent kind of guy who just kind of like 4x4 motors that just like.
Yeah, it was a showroom on Sheikh Zayed Road. It's called Sun City Motors.
City Motors, and just buy everything and sell everything, all kinds of stuff.
Most of the cars that we used to buy was Jaguar, Land Rover, Maserati, Audis.
Okay.
These premium to luxury, I would say. And I spent there 3 years, and that really made me know what is exactly the market of the UAE about in terms of car trade. And there's a lot.
So that's the question: what is the market of the UAE?
I would say.
How did you see it? Like, what did you discover?
It's a tough market. It's you've got a lot of competition. So you've got a lot of people working through showrooms, which I was doing. But then you had the independent people who are also trading in cars. And if you look at it from a business point of view, the independent who doesn't have employees, who doesn't have showroom,
overheads,
there's no overheads at all, you know. And he's willing at the point of when a car is being offered to the market. So it's gonna come to a showroom, and then it's gonna come to an individual, and the individual in this situation, he doesn't have a problem to pay a little bit more because he doesn't have overhead and he's happy to make less. So this is the big idea behind it. So you've got showrooms that are maintaining their business in a nice way, and they have to, because the competition is already high there, compared to the same car going to individuals.
Yeah.
And that was I think this is the main competition. But again, when that person buys the car, he's gonna struggle with trust. So the people who are looking to buy cars, at the end of the day, they will feel more comfortable if they go back to a showroom.
Absolutely.
And they buy from a showroom, because they know if something's going to happen, which, you're buying a used car, you cannot guarantee that anything's not going to happen tomorrow. So there is this situation.
So did you guys used to offer like warranties or guarantees or service packages through your showroom, or was it just?
So most of the cars that we had were mostly newer cars. So the car would have already warranty from the main dealer, warranty and service, whatever it is. On slightly older cars or out of warranty, there was a lot of companies that we used to get policies from. So you've got AAA warranty, you have Gulf warranty, I think that was called. So you are able to kind of get a second-hand warranty on it.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, and some of them offered even dealer repairs and all that. So it was really nice time that I've spent in Sun City Motors. Sold a lot of cars. I think my average over the 3 years, I've done the math once, 19 cars a month. That's how much I used to sell. Yeah, imagine my phone, how much it was ringing, right?
Yeah, so, that's amazing. That's amazing.
That's a lot of cars.
Did you snag anything from there that you kept for yourself for a little while?
Well, there was this one car that as I told you, we used to sell a lot of Jaguars, and my car before I buy the Jaguar was, I'll tell you about it later. But we were selling a lot of Jaguars, and there was this Jaguar XFR that came to the showroom, and I spoke to the owner and said, well, look, I'd like to buy that car. I want it. So the XFR was, I think that car was a 2010 with, I don't remember what was the mileage, but the XFR is a 5-liter V8 supercharged out of a Range Rover Sport. Put it in a sedan.
Exactly.
Big bumper.
I love that concept, man. That's like the biggest engine we have, and put it into the smallest body we have.
It was just so nice, and I wanted the car. And since I was responsible for preparing the car as well, it's not take the car as it is and put it in the showroom, so it goes to a garage and then it gets all prepped up and everything. So I decided what color rims I want, and I decided to put dark metal gray, paint some bits on the body just to make it look the way I want it.
Absolutely.
So I had this in mind. It was so. Do you believe in coincidence? I do, because that same day there was a customer that came to the showroom, and he was selling his 2011 XFR, so 1 year newer, XFR white with red and black interior, which was the best color that you could choose, so that you could get for. And I looked at it. It was so funny, because we've had maybe one XFR before, and all of a sudden we have two, and I want both of them. So
of course you want both of them.
Exactly. So at this point, when I saw them next to each other, I told to the owner, look, no, I'm gonna buy this car from the guy if you allow me. And yeah, I did exactly the same thing, same concept. So I prepped it like I want, and we ended up selling the 2010 silver one through the showroom to a customer. He was very happy with it. I always see it around Motor City, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a silver XFR with gunmetal gray rims.
No,
really nice car. It's he does a lot of karting, so you can see it there when it reopens. Keep an eye for it. And my XFR was white with red and black interior with black piano trim on the dashboard, and the mods that I've done to it, I painted the rims in black, and there is this piece of diffuser, the bottom of the rear bumper, painted in black, the mirror caps in black, and then the window surrounds. They are silver. They were chrome. Painted them in black with tinting, 30% tinting. So it was amazing. It was just looking really really nice. just shy of 500 horsepower. I think it was 490 on the XFR, but
Those things sounded amazing, man. The Jaguars always sound really great, man, when you gun them. There's this one video I remember seeing when the XFR just come out, someone doing like a high-speed run or something like that.
Yeah.
And you would see the video of the car coming towards you, and all you could hear was a supercharger.
Yeah.
And then it would fly by, and you hear the pipes. You know, like,
yeah.
That video really had it. I watched it maybe 10 times in a row. I was like, this is so cool, man. This is so cool. Okay, so we left off talking about the market here, and like, so now you've moved on from that. You're no longer dealing with cars. Now you're training people to sell cars.
So what I do right now is training. So in general, consultancy.
Okay.
And providing training. We do other consultancy activities with the main dealers. So still in the industry, but I moved away from buying and selling cars for the showroom.
Absolutely.
But just consulting.
So have you found that there's really a need for that, for people to be trained properly?
I do believe that there's a lot of training required. Yeah. You know, the market is always changing. The customers are also changing, and you can't really adopt an old school approach to selling a car anymore.
What's an old school approach?
Old school approach, you can compare two scenarios where you have a customer just walking into the showroom and telling you, "Hi, I want to buy a car. Tell me what you have," and then you will be exploring with the customer what he wants and kind of pointing him to one car, versus the actual scenario that happens now, where you've got the power of online. Everyone goes online, he finds a car in your showroom, then goes and make all the research online about that particular car. So he knows probably more than you do about this car that he wants to buy and wants to buy from you.
And he probably knows about all the defects as well. And he goes like, "What happens if this happens?" You know.
Exactly, like. and also he compares prices and with your competitors. So you've got really a different way to deal with that customer. And it's really about knowing what's happening with that particular customer, and how can I show him that my car from my showroom, from me as a salesman, is the best scenario for him. And if you don't really know what are his needs and you don't qualify him properly, you're missing out on that chance. Before, it was a blank piece of paper every time you see a customer. And the fear is, and I think this is where there's a lot of work to be done, is that you've got that old mindset, which is still very much available in our market, and it's slowly going to become more difficult and more difficult for people and the salespeople and sales managers even within this mindset. And it's about shifting them to the new world, where your customer knows probably everything, and he came to you knowing that he wants to buy this car, you know.
But I mean, this old mindset, is it because it's still instilled an older generation that's still working in that field? Because the younger generation that will be coming into that field as a salesman is brought up the same way as the customer, right? So they're also exposed to all these internet things and whatever. So they've kind of got the same mindset where a lot of times you ask Google, you do whatever, you know, you do your research through that. So do you think it's that old mentality is kind of stuck with the older generation? Because I feel like right now we have that separation.
I think what usually happens, and it's very unfortunate, is that in senior level in a showroom, they kind of handcuff the younger salesperson.
This is the way we used to do it, so this is the way you got to do it.
Exactly, yeah. And this is really unfortunate, because if you've got someone who has a lot of potential and you're just going to tell him you do this, and you're not allowed to take a car to a customer to give him a test drive at home, you're missing out on maybe 50% of the customers right now. Because if you're just going to sit on your desk and wait for a customer to come in, that's not going to give you the business that you really want. But if you change your idea and say, well, guess what, Sunday morning, everyone's at work, no one's going to come to the showroom. This Sunday morning from 9 to 12 or 9 to 1, Mr. Sales Guy, if you have a prospect, I give you the keys of the car. then go show him the car in his workplace, in his house. So it's just being proactive and dealing with things in a new way, and all of a sudden it's going to become a habit, and it's going to become a routine, and maybe that trip on Sunday morning is going to get that customer to you, and eventually he's going to come to the showroom to probably make a deal. So there are some countries, for example in the UK and the US, you've got some websites where they'll give you everything that you need to know. So the whole sales process, they just flip it away, and you just end up with this is the car, this is the best deal that you can get, this is where you pay, and then the car is going to get delivered to you. We're not in this stage yet, but there's still a lot of things that salespeople.
So how does the sales part kind of work? So yeah, like you said, they've thrown it out of the window. So how does it kind of work? So people are just basically online shopping in that sense.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
They're just seeing.
So there's a website in the US, I forgot what the name is. So it based on previous sales in an area. So it will give you, if you go to, for example, I don't know, if you go to Honda, you want to buy a Honda Accord, and you saw a Honda Accord here, so
yeah,
you want to buy a Honda Accord. So you go to that website and say, I live in this area and I'm looking for a Honda Accord. So it's going to tell me this dealer, based on previous sales, he's selling the Honda Accord with this discount. So if I just print this paper and go to that dealer and say, I want this car with this chassis number, and I know that you can give me this price.
Yeah.
That's it. So you see, it's all done.
Yeah.
And we haven't reached this point here yet. There is still this conversations that we could still benefit from.
It's very
the
Arab.
customer.
I think that's a very Arab thing, you know. I think
it's Arab, and even in my own experience, I mean, I've sold cars to a lot of customers. Most of them were Arabs, but then I've got a lot of expats, and there's no harm in speaking with your customers and trying to know them. I mean, you know Zalan. Yeah, I sold him the S3 for his wife, for example.
Yeah.
And we kept on talking, and you see, we're just part of the same community, and just building friends as well in this sense. And there's no harm, absolutely no harm in this. It's always to the best of both, because when that customer decides to sell his car, well, guess what? He's going to come back to me. If I still work for that showroom, say, okay, come here and I'll buy your car, and then you buy a new car from me. And it's a win-win situation. And this is what's unfortunate, that it's not very much popular here, because you've got handcuffed.
Okay, yeah.
I was lucky to be honest with Sun City, that it wasn't this atmosphere of you do like I want. There was, you guys are smart and you guys know what you're doing. Do whatever.
Do what you
do what needs to be done to sell cars. And it was just the best times in Dubai. Yeah,
I have a feeling a lot of companies, not just sales, a lot of companies need to kind of adapt that. You know, just, I hired you because I know you're good, so go do your job. You know, like you don't need to. I'm just here to supervise you doing it properly. Anyway, that's like a whole different thing.
Yeah.
So after that, after Sun City, for a while, you moved to Aston Martin. I remember selling presents. So is it kind of the same mentality over there? Is it more strict over there?
It was definitely more strict, because now
it's a higher quality, higher class brand, I guess.
I'm not gonna compare quality. I'm just gonna compare the size of the company. So you have a smaller company versus a bigger international company. You have rules and regulations that are imposed from somewhere outside of Dubai that we need to follow. And that was in the beginning, when I joined, we're not allowed to, us as salespeople, test drive the cars. So it was a bit weird, But then it changed and all that.
How can you sell it if you haven't driven it?
Exactly. What am I going to speak to the customer about? I mean, how can
specs.
Specs.
That he can read on the sheet, you know.
Exactly. That's the thing. The reading on the sheet is just this is rational. You want to speak about the emotions.
Absolutely. Because that's an emotional kind of car. You know, it's never a rational purchase.
I really love the Aston, especially the older generations, so the first century cars. So anything that is non-turbocharged. So anything before the DB11.
Okay. After that, they became Mercedes engines, no?
Well, the 4-liter V8 in the Vantage is exactly the same out of the AMG GT,
Okay.
And I think they put the same in the DBX as well, the SUV. But the V12 in the DB11, it wasn't a Mercedes.
It's an Aston Martin engine.
Aston Martin Cosworth. 5.2 V12 twin turbo, around 600 horsepower. That thing sounded so nice. It was so nice. But it was just something different when you sit in a DB11 versus a DB9. So it's the same line of cars. DB9, you sit in it, it just the build quality inside just says a lot. You're just looking at the dashboard. So you've got the digital dashboard in the DB11, and then you've got a analog dashboard that you think it's made out of titanium and crystal. It's just so much different and nice, and the
it's funny, I had a really different experience when I drove a DB9. I thought it was it a DB9 or DBS? Not an S, definitely not an S, but it was some sort of DB9 special version or something.
Yeah.
And I was a bit disappointed by the interior. I thought it was very poor. It was very plasticky when I was touching stuff. Maybe because it was a press car and it was a bit abused.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, everyone knows what happens to press cars. Yeah.
It's a shame, really.
Have you been in a Vanquish?
No, I've never been in a Vanquish, but I've seen many Vanquishes. Those are luxury, because that was really like something another level above. Because I think it was a limited run, wasn't it? They made wasn't considered a production car. Was it?
They've made few limited runs, so you've got the carbon edition. They've done a few.
So it was considered like a production car, like this was a line.
Yeah. In general, Vanquish was a production car. It was full carbon fiber body. Imagine.
Wow.
So the fenders, the bonnet.
So that's why it was so expensive.
It's made.
And at the time, it was like everything. Everybody was like that craze of like, we have carbon fiber,
6-liter V12. It sounds really nice. The only thing with the Vanquish is that doesn't come with the manual transmission.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's all it's an automatic transmission, but who cares? I mean, it's still an Aston, and it's really nice. Yeah.
So just to get back to the whole like the sales kind of thing. So, in comparison to Aston Martin guys, obviously like you have to listen to the people that are really.
There's a certain hierarchy.
Hierarchy that's coming from abroad, so you can't really do much with that. So back to the region, you've flown around. From what I understand, you flew around the GCC a bit. So Saudi. What other countries? Bahrain.
So Saudi, Qatar, Kuwait, a bit for Lebanon as well.
How does it compare to the UAE? I mean, I guess you can't really tell because you haven't actually worked in that market, but you've trained the people who work there. What's your?
I think it's very similar. It really depends on salesperson's mindset. So if you've got someone that really wants to go the extra mile, you would see spectacular results, because at the end of the day you're working for a main dealer, and then you've got a lot of tools that a lot of small showrooms dream of.
Like what?
You've got the power of training, for example. So having proper training from the manufacturer, telling you exactly what you need to know about the car and how to sell this particular car, then you completely ignore it. That's a very powerful tool that small showrooms don't have.
Okay.
So I remember in Sun City, if I wanted to know something about a car, if I just don't go and sit in the car and press all the buttons and then go to Google and try to understand, no one's going to teach me that, because this is not a tool that we have. And on the other hand, you see people working for a main dealer that offer them training and offer them tools, they just completely ignore it. So this is really a big shame, I think, because this is going to help. This is going to give you all the little things that are going to make you different from the other salesperson.
Yeah,
because the customer who's buying, let's say, I don't know, Mercedes, it's not because he's spending a lot of money that we have to treat him well. It's because of where he has been before. So he's coming to you to buy a Mercedes, but he was probably comparing it with Audi, probably comparing it with with BMW. So he's been to these showrooms, and he knows what a premium experience is, because he's experienced it there. So if we're going to compare ourselves as competitors for BMW and Audi, we have to at least maintain this. And this is where the idea of the whole premium experience comes from, the expectation of the customer. And if we don't ask him that, and if we don't explore where he has been and what does he like, what he doesn't like, then we're maybe missing out on this one button that we need to press on the customer, and just it's called the hot button. We're going to press the hot buttons. If we don't know what are his hot buttons, we're not going to be pressing anything.
Absolutely.
Well, so I mean, it's in UAE and in the region. I do believe 100% that there is still a lot of potential, because the companies, the main dealers, and even small dealers are investing in tools. And what we need to make sure, us as consultants right now, for example, is to let all these salespeople benefit from those tools as long as they are available. So
Because you think at some point it's going to change. It's going to go to that online version that you were talking about.
Yeah.
And the whole showroom idea is just going to disappear.
Exactly. I mean, if you
Who would have thought, man?
if you go to Galadari now website, you see that there's a 360 virtual tour. And
I shot some 360s for Yamaha, man.
Also
for their bikes and their ATVs and their jet skis and things like that.
So
man.
who knows when it's gonna be?
Yeah.
The showroom is just for delivery of the car if you want to have that. But
absolutely.
if you want to see the car, it's online. Go online, and then I'll call you on video.
I was also supposed to shoot the same thing for Toyota, but it was just like, it wasn't 360. It was just like kind of whatever mugshots, you know, of the cars. But they were doing an online store, you know, and you go and you check the car and you just buy it or whatever. Like, because of the whole COVID thing and whatever, I think they kind of decided to move in there quickly. I think Nissan had done it already, and obviously Futem was like, oh shit, we gotta do it, you know. So they decided to do it. I was in the middle of shooting that, and then the full lockdown came in, and I was like, oh damn, so I lost that job. That's unfortunate, but what to do. But that's really interesting to know about all of that. So do you, the next question, do you think these guys, Al Futem, Al Tire, and all those kind of like dealers, what do you call them? Dealers, do they have an impact on all of that? Obviously they do. Or does the mother company that's
well, you've got
mother brand, sorry,
you've got different levels. So you've got Altair, which is a dealer for, let's say, Jaguar and Range Rover. On top of that, you've got JLR Middle East, so Jaguar Land Rover Middle East, which is the office in Middle East. I think most of them are in Jebel Ali, and that Middle East represents the manufacturer in the region.
Okay.
And
so Altair would answer to them. So any kind of training that would come to their salesmen at that over there, would it come from Land Rover Middle East, or do Altair also have an input in that?
You've got both. So you've got Altair investing in other third-party training providers to give them a training on a particular subject, whatever. And you've got the training that comes from the manufacturer, which is represented by.
And I'm assuming a lot of that training that comes from the manufacturers is mandatory, kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I remember in back in Aston Martin, we had some online training that we need to follow. So, for example, on the Vantage, just what are the specs, what are the vocabulary that we need to use while talking to the customer, and how is it represented. I remember DBS was brute in a suit. Something like this.
Aston Martins are very much like that. They're very much brutes in suits, man. I feel like the way I see them, they're like the European muscle cars, you know, like that's the way I see them, you know. Mercedes has that as well, but I think Aston Martin a bit more. Cool, man. That's really interesting to know. I mean, I never really got into obviously buying and selling stuff. So you do a lot of that as well on your own. You do that a lot of buying and selling stuff. As a hobby, you know,
exactly,
like every other day, when I send you a car, you go like, oh yeah, I went to see it already. It's like, what?
You know, it was recently when I left the showroom, so I'm not as an employee anymore. So I had this bit of more free time and free space to do that, and to be honest, it wasn't really for the business. It's for just going and seeing cool cars, you know. And
absolutely.
I was doing this even before coming to Dubai when I was in Montreal. So it was just a website like Dubizzle, Kijiji, and just going online and finding some cool stuff and going to see it. And usually what happens when I go and I see the car, I just lose my mind. So I say
you end up buying it.
So for example, I go there. Back there it was all Civics and Hondas and Mazda and stuff like that. So let's say the guy was asking like, I don't know, $3,000, and I say in my mind, when I go there, I'm just gonna lowball him 1,500, and if he accepts, fine. So I go there, and I see the car, and I say, no, how much do you want for the car? And then I end up buying it for not the price that I set myself. So that's my weakness, and it's still coming. Coming to me.
Is that what happened with the RS4? You recently bought an RS4.
Oh my god, the RS4. So what happened with the RS4? It was a Saturday, I think, and I was just walking around. I went to Emirates auction in that yard where they throw their cars there.
Where is it exactly? I've never been to it.
The one in Ras Al Khor, next to Al Awir Market.
Okay.
So they have the auctions. They take all the images there.
Yeah.
And I was just walking. I remember I wanted to go see a 450 SEL 6.9. It was on the auction a couple of days before, and I said, if it's still there, I just want to go and have a look at it.
Sure.
It's an old Mercedes. It's just okay. So I went. It was there. I looked at it. It was nice. All good. It was already sold. But I was leaving, and then I see this blue thing shining in the corner there, and it was preparing. So they were preparing the car to take it in the photo booth and take a photo shot for the auction. And then I said, "Oh, nice RS4, okay." And then I said, "Oh no, RS4." Walked around, went back, had a quick look around the car. It looked nice and clean. It was all polished and all. Inside it looked nice and tidy. Opened the engine, okay, it was all also prepared and everything. It looked like someone had taken care of the car. Peeked inside, the keys were there, no one was around. I said, okay, let me just sit in it. So it's a car for the auction, and there's no number plate, so apparently it's gonna be on the auction, so I can look at it. Started looking at it, started it, sounded really nice, sport button, boom, boom, all that. Okay. So I said, I have two options now. I can leave, and then I'm gonna see it online. I'm gonna say, oh shit, I have to go see it again, and it's gonna be probably dusty, parked somewhere, and I cannot drive it. Or I can just benefit from the fact that I could just drive it around in the small yard that's there, and make sure everything's okay. So I have that in mind in case something happens, and I want to bid on it. And that's what happened. So I looked at it and inspected it. It was very good for the age of the car. So 2006. And I left.
Wow.
Yeah.
Already so old, man, those things.
Yeah.
That's like 14 years old. Holy cow, man.
Yeah. So I left. A couple of days later, I saw it on the app. So, and I started seeing that it was still, no one's bidding on the car. It's still very low price. So I started making some research. So how much do I have to pay for it? Because, you know, it's an old car. There's no proper market for it. There's a lot of enthusiasts, but there's not a lot of cars available now to kind of benchmark the price. So made my researches, and I said, okay, so this price, I'm not going to pay more than this. And I'm going to wait until the last half an hour on the auction to see how.
And that's usually when the prices goes up.
Exactly.
The last hour is usually, it goes to the normal price.
Everyone waits. I'm just looking at it. But then the last hour, bam. And then
when they bid when it's like a 10,000, you know.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it just becomes like 60, 80.
Exactly, you know? Yeah. So last 20 minutes, it was still very low and far away from the price that I put, which was also like I was saying that no way I'm gonna buy it for this price. It was so cheap.
Yeah.
I put a price inside of me. I said, if I get it at this price, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
But I know I'm not gonna get it, you know. And I started bidding. When someone outbids, I put a higher price. I rounded it up. And I mean, I remember I was sitting, it was like 7, 8 o'clock at night on my app, and then at the end I see the counter going 5, 4, 3. Oh shit, I bought it. Oh shit, and it was even less than the price that I set to
yourself,
the
the
maximum,
limit. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I was, and then I was waiting for someone to outbid me. Come on, no, and then I got it. So it says you are the winner. And at this point, I said, oh shit, what do I have to do now? I remember I called Danielle. I said, I just accidentally bought the car now.
You were bidding on it for like an hour. That's not accidentally.
Exactly, yeah. And after that, I was just going there, getting it registered. Needed some work to get it all up and running. But yeah.
And all that's been sorted now.
Well, the big things, but there's still some things.
What were the big things that were wrong with it?
Battery to get it running properly.
Easy fix.
And tires to get it past.
Easy fix.
Cleaning it off from the underneath if there's any oil. But apparently there was only one oil leak, which was a power steering fluid. Easy. And got it up and running. I know it needs there's a bit of clunk when I put it in first gear and accelerate, so probably bearing of the prop shaft.
Okay.
The drive shaft's boots needs to be replaced, they're leaking, so just small things. There's the under tray missing as well.
16-year-old carb stuff.
What do you expect?
Exactly. That's cool.
What do you expect? Yeah.
So other than the RS4, what else do you own currently?
So now I've got the RS4, which is the latest edition. I've got a 2002 XK8 convertible Jaguar. Okay. So, you know, big love of Jaguar. I think you can speak more about Jaguars with Gilbert.
Yeah, he's definitely on the list.
He's
definitely on the list.
The Jaguar was a car that that I got for Danielle. She's being converted as a car girl recently, and she doesn't know how to drive manual properly. She's a bit nervous. So when we were going on those drives with Dubai drives and all that, usually we take the Clio, and Clio is manual, and she's usually a passenger. So we said that okay, let's get an automatic, something cool, and the XK8 was a good example. It was online on Dubizzle. I had a look at it, and as went to see it, and when I saw it, I made an offer on it. Yeah, which is what usually happens, and it's not a quick car. Let's put it this way. It's not fast. It's not an XKR.
It's a convertible. It's an 8-cylinder convertible. You cruise.
It's a GT. Yeah, it's like driving a couch. That's how I portray it. But really, we've been with a car club called Old English Lady. You've been with us.
Yeah. I came with the XGR.
Exactly. On that ride, it was so nice, so relaxed, chill. The weather was still fine, so I had the top down, and we drove through the desert.
That's what those cars are made for. Just eating the miles, just like long miles. Because even the XGR, man, when I sit in it, I'm just like, this is so comfortable, man. Today I actually drove around a bit in it. And the wood on the steering wheel, really nice. The interior is super classy. And people, go like, hey, man, nice Jaguar, man.
That's what I like about Jaguars. I mean, in 2000, that's a 2002. In 2002, what Mercedes was doing, something similar. I think the CLK. I mean, if you put a CLK and even a CLK 55, which is like the most hardcore out of all of them. Well, maybe there's more than this, but if you put a CLK,
I think at that point it was the highest of 55s.
Maybe,
And even then, I think the CLKs and the M versions of BMW and all that, they were very understated in that sport mode. Flared arches and different bumpers, and that's it. And everything obviously was about the engine. But I feel like nowadays you get a lot more aggressive kind of design.
You've got more muscles.
Compared to the regular versions, right? Yeah. But the Jaguars are always beautiful cars. That's for starters. Even XKR, like that green one. That's that guy has the guy who works at Ferrari.
Yeah, Sebastian.
Sebastian, man, that thing is just the grill on its own is just like.
I like the rims that he has on his
tramples
cars.
any of the Mercedes or whatever at that time. Definitely the different cars to look at.
And I think he has something going on with the exhaust, so it sounds also really nice. It's just a nice looking car. I like the curves on the front, especially on the bonnet for the big bonnet.
So that's an Ian Callum design, isn't it? I think that's when he had first started kind of doing all of that for Aston and for Jaguar. I have to check.
What's funny? Funny that this XK8. I think it's Ian. Yeah, this XK8 and you'd think the Aston Martin DB7 was almost the same car. Absolutely. But actually, the DB7 is built on the XJS platform, which is older than the Jaguar. Okay. So if you compare the two cars, I mean, the Jaguar, it's much cheaper than the Aston, and it's more modern.
It is. Although the DB7 is the DB7 Vantage is probably one of the prettiest cars that England has ever produced, man. I remember seeing one in Beirut, man, of all places. I looked at it, I was man, it's jaw dropping. It's just it's such a perfect proportions is the way I see it for a front engine 2-seater kind of car, or 4 seats. I think it's 4 seats.
I think it's a 2+2. Yeah.
I keep pushing this. I should lock the wheels. So then XK, and then you have the glorious Clio RS.
The best car in the world. So the Clio 172, it's 2002 one.
Sorry, the Lutetia.
Lutetia because it's coming from Japan. It's the Rari. It's my Rari. So the idea, the story behind the Clio was when I bought remember I told you the XFR? Yeah. So the XFR, when I bought it, was low mileage and was still under warranty. It had the extended warranty, so it was the best combination ever. And I thought, okay, so this is a car which I want to keep as a weekend car, but I still want the car to go back and forth to work. And I said, okay, just Dubizzle, sort the cars from the cheapest to the most expensive, filter, manual, 2-door.
Yeah.
And then the list starts. And I said, okay, I just want to buy any car, just take me from home and to work. And then I came across that Clio. So the image was, it was just coming out of a car wash, and he just snapped a couple of pictures and he put it online.
The usual.
Yeah, and I said, okay, it's a Clio RS. It's not just any car.
No,
and so it's very, very good.
And it's also 172. It's not that many over here, man. Like,
exactly.
so few over here.
And it's very clean. It's still original. It's a F1 edition, so it's 1 of 500. My car is number 41 out of 500. Yeah, so the guy came to the showroom, he gave me the car, and I just took it for a quick test drive. And I remember it was the showroom was next to RTA Al Barsha, and there was this entry to the Sheikh Zayed, and then you take the exit off of just before the garden center. After the metro. And it was when I turned right and I was on Sheikh Zayed, I was on first gear, put it in second. There was a car in front of me. I just swerved a little bit and floored it, and then I said, oh shit! Put it in third, kept on going.
That's amazing.
Came back to shore and said, okay, so let's make a deal. Let's discuss, and I ended up getting it, and it was my daily for about 2.5 years.
Wow.
It was about 2.5 years.
So it's done its fair share of work, right? So that's why right now it's sitting resting.
It's sitting resting. I've put about in 2 years, 2.5 years. I think I put 45,000 kilometers on it. Yeah.
Okay.
And there was a lot of
20,000 per year.
And there was a lot of kilometers on with you guys.
Yeah,
on those nice
man.
roads.
Nice.
Yeah, it was. It's a nice car. I think those 16 valve 4-cylinder high revving. Manual gearbox. It's just that it's so lightweight, and
I think my favorite thing about them is that they don't like being driven slow. That's one thing I don't like, but at the same time I love it because when you drive them fast, these things they love being driven fast. You know, like they're just like, yes, more, push harder, faster.
I can take more.
I can take more. You're just like, what? My foot's already as far as it can go. You know.
Yeah.
That's what I love about those engines. They're so happy being pushed really hard. You know.
Even when I drive it now, after remember, I've been in selling cars here, and especially sports cars, for a long time, and I was lucky enough to drive a lot of Ferraris and BMWs and all these things, Porsches, but then every time I go into that small Clio, it's just a different experience, you know. The noise is something really nice about it. And what Yusuf is doing to his cars is just amazing. He's just exploring every single bit of horsepower out of that engine, putting it down on the road. And
that's I think what he's doing with all his RSs, man, is like something. As he's also another candidate for to talk about. I think his most recent one, the Clio 3, is now in the paint shop. Sorry, getting a paint job, and
I think he painted it blue. I think, if I'm not mistaken.
No, he left it the same color, the storm gray kind of thing. That's the original color. It's like I think he's just refreshing it, or something like that. I don't know if he's actually stripping it and repainting it, but it's at the paint shop. Because I took my car to the same guy that he's doing his leather. I did the leather and the steering wheel. I'm finally doing the leather.
Yeah, nice.
That's why it's not there. That's. But yeah, so what were we talking about? We're talking about the Clio. So I see you've compiled a lovely little list of all the cars you've ever owned.
So you told me today that we're gonna talk about cars and what I've owned. So I thought, might as well just put
Let me have a look.
Put a list of cars that I've owned
318i, Del Sol, MX-5, Civic.
So on the left hand, on your left side, it's all the cars from Canada. And on the right side is the cars from Dubai.
GTS. What GTS is that? Which one?
Gran Turismo S. It was 2009 Gran Turismo.
Maserati Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
I heard those cars are actually rubbish to own and rubbish to drive.
To be honest,
super unreliable.
I call it the lazy supercar. So it sounds really nice, especially the S, the 4.7. It sounds absolutely nice, especially when you downshift on it. It's, wow, amazing. But yes, it's a high maintenance, and
it's all about you're buying the badge and the sound. I think that's the image I see. You know,
it's a proper GT. It's not a sports car. It's a GT. So if you want to drive it, cruise along, and have a decent amount of power, yes, it's a great candidate.
Although I remember riding shotgun once in a MC Stradale.
Yeah. That's a bit harsh.
That's super harsh.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
crazy bucket seats, 4-point harness, like
Yeah.
roll cage inside, and like that thing's bananas, man. But
Yeah, the MC, and I think there's the MC line in the Stradale. They were
the top
pinnacle,
of the tops.
the
Those were like
pinnacle,
the Ferrari Scuderias
yeah,
or
something
whatever.
like this. Yeah, mine was a
Masera's take on
2009.
that, I guess. Oh, so many Civics
Yeah,
in Canada.
in Canada, I absolutely loved the Civic. So one of them, actually, my first Civic, the '93, the SI.
Yeah.
It was I bought it. It was a project that the previous owner has done. So he took a 1993 EG Civic, which is the EG generation.
Okay.
And it was a hatchback. Originally, it was an SI. So he stripped it all out. I think it was he kept it the original color white, a black hood, and he put inside a H23 out of a Prelude. So instead of having a 1.6, it's a 2.3 with double overhead camshafts and a tune.
That's
and there's VTEC as well.
Yeah.
So that car was just so amazing. It was so quick, so loud. Had sporty bucket seats, lowered suspension, stiff suspension as well. And I used to track it as well and do drag races in it. Unfortunately, it was stolen from me. In Montreal.
No way.
Yeah, I think they stole it. I don't know.
2 hours later, it's already in parts.
Yeah,
And it's gone.
yeah,
like.
yeah.
So what's this? So is that the scene over there? Do people love these kind of imports over there? Is that what it's like in Canada?
In
the car
Montreal,
scene?
in Montreal, there's a lot of JDM enthusiasts. Yeah, so a lot of people tune Civics. They do swaps, Acuras as well. And then you've got on the other side, you've got the muscle cars.
That's
junkies,
forever.
Yeah,
North
it's
American.
there,
And there's no in betweens.
Yeah.
The European cars, because none of the European cars actually reach there.
You don't see a lot of, for example, when you go to the racetrack, you don't see a lot of BMWs, you don't see Audis, and mostly you see Hondas, Acuras, you see a few Toyotas, so you've got a lot of JDM cars, and then you've got
American
muscles.
local market, you know.
It's different, but who knows?
I think, is it because, like, are they more expensive, the European cars, to buy over there? I'm assuming, like... crazy import taxes.
There's that, but there's also the fact that I'm not sure about this, but then if you want to take a European car to put it in the US market, it has to meet the US specification, and that means bumpers, adjustments.
And a lot of the European guys just go like, fuck it, let's not do it.
Lower horsepower, for example, the Audi Quattro, the UR Quattro, from the 80s. So you had the version which was 200 horsepower anywhere in the world, and then you had the 160 horsepower in North America. And it's
and
just this
obviously
thing.
the bumpers, everybody. And back then, now they're integrated and nice. Back then, everybody was just like with this crazy, ugly
Popping
ass.
out.
Oh man, I saw one, whatever it was, I think at the Tomatsu or something like that, at Tomini, man, with just these pieces of rubber, just so ugly.
So you've got
okay.
You've got the Civic Si. The MX-5 was a nice one. So it was. It's not really. It's a Japanese import, and I think you have a I don't know if it's a sub brand or something. They call it Unos instead of Mazda.
Okay.
So it's Unos Miata, and it was a right-hand drive.
Is that like a brand it's Japanese? Is the sub brand created from Japan? Because I know a lot of times they rename stuff for different markets, like Lexus, like whatever, things like that.
Yeah, I think it was a rebrand of the Mazdas, but mostly for the MX-5. We could make a research on it, I'm not sure. But it didn't have the Mazda badge, it had a Unos badge. But it looked exactly the same as an MX-5, inside and outside. It was a right-hand drive. And I've owned it during the summer period in Montreal. It was so nice because it's driving a right-hand drive car is obviously different than the left-hand drive.
Absolutely.
So when you're driving in your car today and you want to look to the rear, your reflex is to look here because you've got the mirror on your right-hand side. But then if you do this on a right-hand side, right-hand drive car, you're going to see the A-pillar. You're not going to see anything. So it's about switching everything to the other side.
I think to me the most baffling thing would be to shift with my left hand.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Putting it first, second, third.
And one thing I don't understand is a lot of them, they keep it the same pattern. So
it's
first
exactly
is
the same.
all the way there.
It's exactly the same. Yeah.
Even British cars, like why? what? Like this is how they're built, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
it's completely. The first I remember it was to the left and then to the front.
I think because they want to keep the geometry of the gearbox the same, so
Probably,
that they just have to shift the
Yeah.
dashboard and not
Yeah.
have to reconfigure the entire gearbox. So yeah, that's probably.
But then headlights and side lights and the wipers are switched. So when you want to put your indicators on, you put the wipers on.
Oh, so oh my god.
We had well, I have a nice memory with a friend of mine. His name Ahmed. We were hanging out all the time in Canada when I had this car, and it was around Halloween that year, and he had this. You know LMFAO. The
band,
yeah, there was this robot that was dancing and shuffling in their music videos. So he created this mask, this big thing, and the car was a convertible. So he said, "Okay, let's go have a drive in downtown Montreal." And I was driving, but I was on the right hand side, and he was on the left hand side. So everyone thought that he was driving. Because it's common, you think it's a left-hand vehicle, and even we encountered the police, and they looked at us very. You could see that they want to stop us because what the hell, that robot is driving a car. It's not saying how can he see? But then they've noticed that the guy is driving on the right hand side.
That's hilarious.
So that was really a nice car, and I loved
So you owned it just for that summer period, and you sold it after that.
I think. Yeah, at the end of summer.
So a lot of these cars are just like buy for a little bit, sell it, buy for a little bit, sell it, experience
in Canada it was like this. The Civics were, especially those Civics EK. I've had.
There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Civics, dude. Wow.
8. The last
I
one.
missed one.
So the Civics were for business. So I bought them, do some small modifications, cleaning them and just selling them for a bit of extra.
Yeah,
it was my side job from university. I was enjoying doing it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was nice. I think
I've always kind of like thought about it, but I was like, nah, I can't sell cars for shit. Like,
it's a nice.
I'll take a nice picture, but that's about it.
No, it was fun in Montreal. It was fun. We've got the Del Sol as well, the convertible Civic.
Del Sol, yeah, those are the CRX. Isn't that the equivalent to that? The CRX?
No, the CRX is still a hatchback. So the Del Sol is a Targa top. It's the one with
yeah, the CRX. Oh yeah. I know. I get which, but also those used to also be called as CRXs, the Targa tops.
Maybe in a different markets. Yeah, maybe.
Or maybe I might be mistaken because I remember seeing a lot of them here at the time.
Let me show you a picture of it.
I know which one you're talking about, the Targa tops, but anyway, yeah, they're cool, man. I like those. I like the Targa top.
There it is.
Yeah, man. Those are cool, man.
Yeah, that was.
You have to send me all these, man, so I can put them up.
Yeah, I'll send them to you. There's that. I mean, the one that I really hated was the 318 Ti.
So it's that turbo.
No, you know that 3 Series, which is a hatchback.
Yeah, the really hatchback, the compact, whatever it was.
That was for business. I got it. I bought it to sell it.
Fair enough. Those cars, I remember a friend of mine had a 1 Series as well. They're cool, man. They're pretty good. But the regular 1 Series. I remember they're pretty. He liked them. He liked that it was rear-wheel drive.
Yeah, exactly. The rear-wheel drive. So that was my thing there. Is when I bought the first car is when I got my first internship, and it was the 318i. It was a 3 Series, 4 doors, and I was looking for a car to drive to work. But then I said, winter's coming, and then we've got a lot of snow on the road. So I need something to enjoy on the road. I don't want to drive.
It has to be a real drive.
Exactly, yeah. So I looked around, and then I found that 318i. It was manual. It had a whole bunch of problems. Rust everywhere. The dashboard had all these warning lights on. When you accelerate on first gear, it makes this weird noise from the clutch. Something like this, just when you accelerate.
Yeah.
But then on the snow, it was a charm.
Yeah.
I remember the first snow, I think it was somewhere in November or something. So I had to go to work. So let's say I have to be there at 8:30. I woke up at like 5, and I knew it was a storm outside, and I was just playing around.
Took advantage of that.
Exactly. And
empty roads.
And you just have to. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to force it to go on a slide.
Yeah.
You just have to give it a little bit more gas mid corner, and that's it. It's just gonna the rear is gonna go out. And
I think that's one thing I kind of missed out on, or we're missing out on here. That kind of like fun with that sense, and also I've probably never owned a rear-wheel drive car in my life. Everything's always been front-wheel drive.
Oh, you've got the XJ.
The XJ is not mine, unfortunately. You know, if it was mine, I would have done a lot more things to it.
Oh yeah, that's a Seals.
It's a Seals, man. It's a Seals. Unfortunately, it's stuck with me, man. He's stuck in India right now, and it's stuck with me. But I borrowed it because my car was in the impound, so I borrowed it for that job with Toyota.
Yeah.
And then I did it for one day, and then they did the lockdown the next day, and so I told Seal, listen, dude, the car's stuck with me now.
Yeah.
So call me when you get back, and it's been 2 months.
Yeah.
So I barely drive it. Today I drove it because I don't have my car, but I barely drive it. It just sits there and it's collecting dust, man. Unfortunately, I cleaned it once, and it rained the next day, and I was like, listen, dude, I'm not cleaning this thing again. I need to clean it though. It's really dirty. Sorry, Asil.
Sorry.
It's not like you're gonna be driving it anytime soon, anyway.
I see. It's looking good. It's not looking miserable.
Man, even with all this dust and all this crap, man. Today, 2 people told me, "Hey, man, nice car, dude. That's a really cool car, man."
That's a gangster car.
It's a gangster car, man. It's awesome. Unfortunately, at the rear left tire, I think the balance is wrong. It's a little bit like this.
Okay, yeah.
So it's kind of going, and I hear it, and it's like really loud. And I think it's getting a bit weird. So I might actually take it just to have a look, just to get it balanced. If I continue driving it. Yeah, man.
Anything
I noticed the Cayenne GTS, man. What was this all about?
Yeah, that was.
I thought we don't buy these kind of cars, Mr. Elio. We're not soccer moms.
It was that car was weird actually. It was.
I'm sure it was super stupid quick. You know, it's the big V8, 4.4, isn't it?
I think it's a 4.8. Yeah, 4.8 V8, 420 horsepower. That's nice. It was. I've owned it for a very short period of time. And
okay.
Got rid of it.
And then you realize you're not a soccer mom, so you sold it.
There's a few others. There's the Cayenne. There's the LR2, Land Rover LR2. Evoque. It was a coupe.
Yeah.
But
it's still not.
I didn't like it.
You're not a 30-year-old single girl either.
my first car was a SC430. The
Lexus.
The Lexus, yeah.
Yeah, I know those.
Top Gear said is the worst car in the world.
Yeah. Isn't that the one that Nigel has as well?
Exactly, yeah. Mine was a burgundy with beige inside. I think it was very well taken care of from the previous owner. That was my first car in the UAE.
So
V8.
why that of all the cars?
I don't know. It was.
I think you have a thing for convertibles.
Maybe. Yeah.
Also, it's a Lexus. It's like immortal.
Exactly.
Practically.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, mechanically, I'm sure the electronics would die eventually, but.
I had problems with the alternator before I sold it, so I had to I don't remember if I rebuilt it or if I replaced it, but yeah, there was this small thing at the end. But surprisingly, the car wasn't the quickest, but there was a bit of torque. You feel a bit of torque when you're not.
It's a V8 after all.
Exactly, yeah. It's very smooth. It drives. If you want to compare it to a Mercedes from the same era, I don't know, the CL.
Probably. Yeah. No, not the CL. CLK. CL is way bigger. CLK is small coupe, 4-door coupe.
If you want to compare it to the CLK, it's much better.
Yeah.
To be honest, yeah, because in my mind I was comparing it always to the CL, which is also a big V8.
Okay.
It wasn't convertible though, but and the seats in the back of the C430, they're so small. Yeah, probably CLK. Yeah, but compared to a Mercedes from the same era, it's much nicer, I think.
Yeah. Fair enough.
There was different ideas.
Like the thing is, for me, when I compare like Japanese or Asian with Europeans usually, and especially the test of time, you know, like nothing ages like a European car. Like these things, they hold their age so well. They do. The Japanese, man, after like 5 years, 6 years, no more, obviously 10 years, 20 years, you look at some of the you feel the interior just. This thing is not doing well, you know. And a lot of times the design gets outdated really quickly.
Yeah.
Looking at like 6-year-old, 7-year-old Accords, man. I keep thinking we're like 2010, so that's what I'm referring to, like early 2000. My brain is still kind of stuck there, man. Like if you're talking about 10-year-old cars or 15-year-old cars, you know, some of the Japanese, like like this Accord, you know, you think, man, this thing, you listen to it, you know, like,
Well,
I don't mean to, every time she turns it on, I'm just like, dude, poor car, man, go fix it, you know, like.
is that it now?
That's it now, man.
Yeah,
That's when she turn it on every morning. I'm like,
bearing noises everywhere.
Exactly. And then it's not just that. Like the other day, I kind of got into it just to reverse it out because I wanted to move on to cars, man. Just the interior. You look at it, you're like, wow, this is
Very much plasticky.
very plasticky. But I understand that it obviously has to fit within a certain market or whatever. But at the same time, you know, like, well, maybe it's different classes. You can't really compare Mercedes with an Accord.
If you want to compare,
but just the way they age, it doesn't feel right. Like even the luxury Japanese cars, which is like here's a Lexus. I'm sure if you compare the materials, is it different materials? Like literally just different materials that they use.
On the Lexus, I remember the one that I had. I mean, it was very much taken care of from the
That's
previous
leather
owner.
seats
It had
and
proper
wood
leather seats. It had wooden dashboard, like a proper big, like very similar to what I have on the XK. That was big piece of wood on the dashboard, on the doors. But to be fair, if you go, you just have to go to Sharjah Market or Al Awir and see another one. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, you see that the interior, especially when it's left in the heat, everything starts to move a little bit. The leather starts to peel.
And stuff is just not fitting together properly, sitting together properly. I don't know, I feel like sometimes the Europeans, man, when you tap on the dashboard, you're just like, this thing is solid, you know, this thing's not going anywhere, you know.
I mean, look at the Audi. So the Audi is 14 years old now. You look at it from outside and inside. Okay, it's not very much outdated. That's the thing.
Yeah, man, the design is still, it looks like something they'd come out with today, you know, like, but I guess maybe the Audi is a bit different. It's a bit of a special car, so maybe the previous owners have taken better care of it, you know, things like that. You always have to keep that in mind as well. Cool. I think on that note, we have plenty to work with. Thank you very much, Elio,
Hey, no problem, man.
to coming and having a chat.